Hello, my name is Sofia and this is the walkthrough to OSINT Exercise 018. On my website you can find a number of OSINT exercises to practice your skills. If you have not attempted to solve this one yet, you can find a link in the description and give it a go first. If you're here because you have completed, well done, you should be very proud. If you're here because you want to find out how to solve it, I hope you find this video useful. So welcome to OSINT Exercise 018. Task briefing. In May 2023, the world witnessed the coronation of King Charles III at Westminster Abbey in London. Following the ceremony, and similar to the previous regent, the monarch travelled through the city in a lavish carriage. The route of the 2023 royal procession differed from that of 1953. Your task is to A. Identify from which exact door Queen Elizabeth II left Westminster Abbey after her coronation. B. Measure the distance travelled by the Queen's carriage following the 1953 coronation. And C. Estimate the average speed at which the Queen's carriage travelled. I have marked this exercise level as the first two, perhaps medium for beginners. Might just take you a few minutes, I'm not sure. The third one, easy, especially if you like maths. For experts, I would say they're probably just all easy. And as it says here, the image below is not related to the exercise. I simply saw the opportunity to have a photo of a topless Freddie Mercury wearing a royal crown and a cape, and I went for it. You cannot blame me. Anyway, as I have just mentioned, this exercise consists of 3 tasks. The first one requires us to identify the door from which the just coronated Queen Elizabeth II exited Westminster Abbey in 1953. Easy enough, we just need to find footage of her leaving the building after the coronation and quickly geolocate it. So we can just jump to Google Maps, so here is Google Maps, to look at the Westminster Abbey so we have some idea of what we're looking for. So let me just copy Westminster Abbey and off we go to London. We can put the satellite view on so we can check it out. Okay, so we have the Westminster Abbey, and at first glance I would say there's probably a few entrances. So there seems to be one here on the north hand side, one to the west, and possibly one to the east here. As this was a massive event televised all over the world, it shouldn't be too hard to find a piece of footage containing what we need. We then just need to match it to one of these entrances. Easy enough. Okay, let's jump to YouTube and simply search for something like Coronation 1953, which I'm going to copy paste here. Coronation 1953. So the first result is an almost 3-hour video. It says there whenever I'm not hovering the damn thing. So it's probably a good one to start with. So let's check it out. I'm going to put here the quality. That's the best one. Here you go. You cannot get much more. Have the subtitles just so you can see what's happening, or at least what they're saying. And I'm going to put playback speed too because we want to speed this up. Okay, so there's oh, there we go. Okay, so they've arrived somewhere. There's the carriage and the horses and all that stuff. And there seems to be some sort of building. It does not look like the Westminster Abbey, but they may have erected this just for this coronation. We don't know. Anyway, so there's people entering and you can see laughter, applause and all that stuff. And there's some people with a very fancy thing. Okay, following Her Majesty into the annex. So clearly the Majesty just got in and there you go, into the Abbey. So it pans up and we can see the Abbey, but it just goes straight to the inside and we want to see the previous frame. So I'm going to teach you a little trick. Maybe you already know this one, but that's fine if you don't. So you can use the keyboard to move back and forth, and I'm not talking about the arrows. In this case I'm talking about the dot and the comma, and I'll show you what I mean. So if you click the dot, it goes forward 1 frame. So I'm clicking and it's slightly moving. You cannot see that much, but now I'm going to click the comma key and it's going to move back all the way to the very last frame of the Abbey. And I've actually calculated, or counted I mean, and it's 25 frames per second. So here you go. So this is a much better alternative than just using the arrows. So if you click the right arrow, you'll go 5 seconds forward, 5 seconds backwards, but you don't want that. You don't want 5 seconds, you want frame by frame, so you get the very last one of it. So you can see if I move 1 frame forward, it'll go inside, and I went back, and this is the very last frame. So there you go, a small tip. Okay, so now we'll just attempt to geolocate. So this should be one of the entrances of the Westminster Abbey, and I know we're looking for the door that she exited the Westminster Abbey, but it's likely that she entered and exited through the same one, and we'll verify this. We'll always verify everything, but in the meanwhile, let's just geolocate this one. So for that, I'm just going to put the 2 windows those side by side. Okay, here we go. We have the Westminster Abbey here on the left on Google Maps, and we have the very last frame of where the Queen entered the building. And because this is a big capital in a developed nation, there will be a lot of visual data in the form of street view or panoramic images. So we're going to grab our little pegman, whatever you want to call it, and you can just drop it here on one of the entrances. So let's start with the west one first. And here we go. Let's rotate this a bit so we're facing the Abbey. And you can probably see already that this is a very good match. Let me just zoom in this section here so you can see this section here is this area here is this one here with the 3 circles, and you have this very long thing, I don't know what these things are called, and you have these lines, this structure, I don't know what they're called, whatever, it's the same pattern, you can see it's the same one. Okay, so we have now confirmed the future Queen entered through this door. We need to find out if she also exited through the same place, because that's what the exercise asks us to do. Unfortunately, this almost 3-hour video ends without the Queen actually exiting the building. There you go, just at the end she's still inside the Abbey, so this is not useful to us. We need another piece of footage. So let's go back again to YouTube and click the second one, because why not? So this video appears to be in color, and if you click it, you can see it's only 16 minutes, but that's fine, because as long as it has what we're looking for, it doesn't matter how long it is. So now I'm going to give you another YouTube tip, just a small one. So you know, when you hover down here, you can see the frames, and actually if you go here, most replayed, look at that, it's the part where the Queen is entering the building, which we have geolocated, which is great. Unfortunately, it just pans out to the inside of the Abbey and it doesn't really show us what we're looking for, but that's fine, because we want to see her going out, not in. Anyway, the tip I wanted to tell you about is not this hovering, because everyone knows that, is that if you grab this thing and drag it up, look at that, you can just move around and you can see all the frames. So you don't even have to wait for each of them individually to see it, you can just see them in advance. Look at that, it is perfect. So now we're just going to move all the way till, look at that, remember this frame, here she is. So now you just need to align. So here in the middle there's a vertical white line of some sort, and you want to align with that with what we want to see, and you just click play, and here we go. And what we see the Queen with the crown, with the scepter, and with the massive cape, and she's entering the carriage after the coronation, and it pans to something else, you know, off they go to their coronation procession. So there you have it. We have completed the first task. We have confirmed that the Queen does indeed exit through this door, which we have geolocated as the west door here. So there you go, done. Next. So the next exercise asks you to measure the distance traveled by the Queen's carriage following the 1953 coronation. So now we need to find the route taken by the carriage on this date. We could try to watch the footage of it to figure out the route by matching the buildings and monuments along the way, but why work hard when we can work smart? On the coronation day of King Charles III, there were loads of news agencies sharing his carriage route. It's therefore expected that something similar also happened in 1953. After all, this was a huge event with a lot of planning, and roads had to be closed off in preparation for the procession. Therefore, I would bet there's some archived image somewhere, so you can just Google that. And to keep it simple, I'll just go with something like 1953 coronation route, and look at that. You can see from the link, the very first one, let me zoom this in. Whoa, okay, it's massive now. You can see from the link it says nationalarchives.gov.uk, which is perfect. You cannot get any more official than this. So let's click on it and let's see if it's not very zoomed in. It's not. Okay, great. So you can just click here, view full image, and you can see, look at that. What a beautiful piece of paper. Coronation procession of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And here you go, you have the entire route mapped out just for you. But the task specifically asks for the distance traveled by the Queen's carriage following the 1953 coronation. So we need to figure out in kilometers, miles, wherever you want to measure this with, the distance between Westminster Abbey here back to the palace here. We're not interested about the first part where she goes from the palace to the Abbey, because that's not part of the task, as it clearly states following the coronation. I also want to point out that I specifically said measure and not find out. So your task is to use tools to measure this path. That's the fun bit. So you may have noticed that the brochure seems to indicate here, let me zoom a bit, here you go, that the royal carriage left Westminster Abbey after the coronation through the east gate, perhaps because the arrow starts from this end. We know that's not true. We verified through footage that the new appointed queen left through the west gate or the west door, whatever you want to call it. This is why verification is important. You never skip it. Had we not geolocated the door earlier, we would have started off the second task on the wrong foot. Okay, so there are a few ways and tools to accomplish measuring the route from the abbey to the palace. Okay, so let me quickly show you how to work it on Google Maps. So let me just remove here the layers so you can see a bit better, and let me move to the river. So to start measuring, you right click and you click measure distance. So quite straightforward, and you start adding markers. You can see how you just click it and you'll start adding. So very easy, very straightforward. If you want to move one of the markers, you're not happy with it, you grab it and you drag it. And when you drag it, all the numbers change because it's updating the distance. There you go. You have the total length, says it's 900 and something meters. You grab this one, you drag a bit more, and there you go. We passed a kilometer. If you want to delete one of it, you click it and it just deletes. I mean, it's very straightforward, very easy to use, and it's great. But we're not going to use this one. For this task, we'll use Google Earth Pro, simply because if you're working on an investigation that requires various markers and measuring distances, it's useful to save this information somewhere. With Google Maps, once you close this window, it's gone. Therefore, I want to explain how to solve this task in a way that will be useful for people that may want to do this for a living or professionally. And yes, I am aware you can create your own Google Maps with markers and will be saved on your drive. I still want to show it on Google Earth Pro because I like it and I'm doing this video, so just bear with me. Okay, so at this point, you can either enter the Westminster Abbey coordinates or you can just search for the name. So if I put Westminster Abbey and click search, Google is like, yep, I know exactly what you mean. And off we go to Westminster Abbey. So you can use this one as your first marker, and you can do that in two different ways. You either click here where it says copy the current search results to my places. So if you click on it, it'll transport itself here. So it'll create a folder, and here you go, you have the marker and it has some sort of information. There's a problem with this though, is that you cannot move this marker. And we don't want to start here, we want to start at the west door. So for that, we're not going to use this one. In fact, I'm just going to delete that. You right click it, you click delete, and off you go. Yep, I am sure. And you also need to delete the folder because it has created a folder as well. Okay, so how do you add a marker? Easy enough, you literally click the marker right here at the top. So you'll have here a yellow marker right at the top. Let me click Control C, look at that, it's blinking. I did that now. Okay, so you click the marker, and you can grab it and you can move it and you can put it wherever you want. So let's just put it here at the gate. So once you're here, you can name whatever you want. In this case, obviously I'm going to put it Westminster Abbey, and you can change the style, you can change the color, you can do a lot of things. Here is the color of the label. So if you change that, Westminster Abbey will look lilac or violet or whatever this color is. And you can change the icon's color, so you can put it green instead of yellow, whatever is also cool. And if you click here the icon, you can change whatever you want. I can put a volcano because why the hell not? Anyway, so you can view, and there's the coordinates and the altitude and so on. But you don't need anything else. You click OK. There you go, the marker is there. If you're not happy with this marker, you can right click on it on your list, you click properties, and this thing will open again, and off you go, you can move it again. Very easy, very straightforward. Okay, so let me cancel this. So we don't just want a marker, we want to map the entire path. And for that, I found it very useful to put various markers. In fact, you can see it here on my list. I have a lot of markers. So I put Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Circus, Trafalgar Square, and so on, so on, so on. And I chose these ones because it's the ones that I could see here. So here you go. If you zoom it in again, the Trafalgar Square is there. Oxford Circus is up there. Here you go. Piccadilly Circus is there, and so on. So basically what I did is just I marked a few monuments so I would know more or less what I'm looking for, because we know it goes from there and off you go all the way here. So I wanted something to be easy enough for me to see on the map. So I already show you how to do one marker. I'm not going to use this one because I already have them all. So let me just delete this one. And I can show you all the ones that I put one by one. So here you go. This is all my markers, and you can do it exactly the same way. You can choose different markers, whatever. It's just going to be helpful when you're creating the path, so you know more or less where to turn and so on. Anyway, great. So now we have all of the markers that we wanted. So now we need to draw the route. And for this, we'll click right here at the top where it says path. So you click on it and you'll get a new window that says new path. You can write whatever you want. Let me go with path. Okay, so similar to the Google Maps, you just start clicking and it'll start mapping a route. You can also change the style and the color. When I'm doing routes, I tend to do something very striking that you can see very well. So let's put red and let's put this with like 30. So it's very thick because I want to see it very well. So this is what you need to do. And again, like the other one, you can grab and drag and look at that. It'll just move along and that's it. You can add new ones, so you can click, 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 and add new ones, and you can click delete. So delete, 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 and it'll just delete the previous one. If you grab and drag, so if you do this, it just created a bunch of them. You cannot actually see. Let me just change the color. Maybe this was not the best color. Okay, here you go. So you can see all the little markers. So you have a lot of them, and this is a bit of hassle because if you want to move, you have to move all of them. So you can just click delete, 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 and just delete all the way one by one, or you can delete the specific one. So I want to delete this one, click it, delete it, and that's it. So you can see this one is selected because it has a different color. So if I click delete, it'll delete that one and so on. So there you go. It's very straightforward, very easy to use. So once you're done, you click OK and off you go. It is there, it's saved. You can then right click it. So you can see here path, you can right click it, properties, and you can just look at that. You can edit it again. So it's very easy. So what are you going to do? You're going to start here at the Westminster Abbey on the west door, and you're going to start map the coronation route exactly as you have seen here, but taking into account that the Queen's carriage left the west door and not whatever door they're showing here on this side. So that's the only difference. It goes from this section and goes up all the way there. So I can show you how I've done. Basically, I've done the same as I've showed just now. Let me just delete again, same thing, right click, delete. So there you go. So this is the one I mapped. Here you go. Started there from the Westminster Abbey door all the way there. You went this route and went back and to the Buckingham Palace. A few important bits of information while mapping this route is that although the carriage mostly traveled on the road, on a few occasions it didn't. And you can see here on the route, it shows how it went through this arch and through this one. So you can see the arrow right in the middle, and I have found footage of it. So I can confirm that indeed the carriage went through instead of using the normal route that the cars on the road would just use. So that will be just a few meters difference, but it's still something that you need to be aware of. Anyway, so now we have the entire route mapped. Here we go. We need to find out the total distance. So how do we find out the total distance of this thing? Again, we're going to right click this thing. So a path, you properties here, and at the end it'll say measurements, and here you'll be able to see the length of the route in whatever unit you chose. So there's lots of units here. I've left it in kilometers just because I like it the most. They don't have bananas, which is a bit disappointing, but I guess it was expected. So we have answered the second question, which was, here you go, where is it? Measure the distance traveled by the Queen's carriage following the 1953 coronation. We have measured and we have found out it was 8.32 kilometers. Or if you're using miles, here you go. I can also put it for you because I'm very nice. Look at that. 5.17 miles. Here you go. So now we can go to the easy question, which asks to estimate the average speed at which the Queen's carriage traveled. Okay, so this one is just maths. We have the distance in kilometers that we found here. Let me put it back in kilometers just to help my own brain. And the brochure we found, which is here, tells us the time that it left the Westminster Abbey and the time it arrived at Buckingham Palace, allegedly, of course. So with this information, we just need to calculate the kilometers per hour. So you can see that it has left Westminster Abbey at 2:50 p.m. and it has allegedly, like I said, arrived at Buckingham Palace at 4:30. This was a total of 1 hour and 40 minutes. We need to convert this to just minutes, which would be 100 minutes because an hour is 60 minutes plus 40 will be 100. And then with the kilometers that we already have here, we can calculate how long would have taken it to travel 1 hour instead of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Okay, so this is a very simple calculation. I don't know how other people do it, but this is how I do it. So we know that the route took 100 minutes. So here you go, 100 minutes. And then we know, let me just put this. And we know that within this time frame, it traveled 8.32 kilometers. So how many kilometers would have traveled in 60 minutes, which is an hour, so that we can figure out how many kilometers per hour. So that's what we're going to do, and that's X. And now you just need to multiply this number with this number and divide by this number. So it's very easy. Let's just grab our calculator, which is here, and there you go. You can put there 60 times 8.32 divided by 100, which is, just move that decimal 2 places. And here you go, 4.992, which is pretty much 5. So it would be 5 kilometers per hour. There you go. And now we can try to attempt to verify this number. I know by memory, because it's a weird detail that I know, that an average human walks at around 5 kilometers per hour. But we can quickly Google that, just in case you don't believe me. Anyway, so you can quickly Google that. And here you go. Average walking speed of a person in kilometers. We can click this one. How fast do humans walk in kilometers? There you go. 5.1 on average. The numbers seem to range between 5.1 here to 4.8 here. I would say 5 kilometers per hour is a completely acceptable answer. Now we can try to find footage of people walking side by side with the carriage to verify if they seem to be walking slowly, on a fast pace, or just an average looking speed. And for that we can check it out the video again. Remember this one, she's living, the people are walking side by side with the carriage, and you can see they're not really speeding, are they? You can see the horses. Let me see if there's better footage here. I think there's something better towards the end. There you go. So see, remember, we have to align this with the vertical line. There you go. See, people walking perfectly average pace. They don't seem to be speeding up. They don't seem to be like dragging their feet. I don't know. They're just an average looking speed for an adult male or adult person or whatever, adult human. Here you go. Anyway, we have verified. It is likely that the carriage was moving at an average speed of 5 kilometers per hour. Anyway, to summarize this, the first one, from which exact door Queen Elizabeth II left Westminster Abbey after coronation, it was the west door. The second one measured the distance. The distance was 8.32 kilometers. We have measured that on Google Earth Pro and estimate the average speed at which the Queen's carriage traveled. It was around 5 kilometers per hour, which is around 3 miles per hour. I hope this video is useful. I hope you learned a few tricks, techniques, whatever along the way. Keep in touch, leave a comment. I like reading them. Have a great day. Thank you.